This phrase is coming up for me. I think it's from the Bible, but I don't know the address. Do not despise the day of small things.
Yeah.
And that just dropped into my mind as I was listening to like some of these questions you have are like these big picture, like long road questions, and they're good, fair questions that do need to be answered. I think this is your day of small things. Like you're like, I've attended a few births. I have a birth keeper heart. That's your stance, your posture towards the women you serve. And you have a lot of information in your head and your hands don't know a lot yet. And that's it's a small time. It's small things, and to not despise it or try to to make it already something bigger down the road, but just to follow one bit at a time. Holy Wild Birth is a podcast embracing the reclamation of giving birth rooted in God's original design, undisturbed.
Here, we share home birth stories highlighting God's presence as the great midwife, as well as conversations about all aspects of a holistic, spirit-led childbearing year, from the perspectives of myself, traditional midwife Lauren Hall, of Rooted in Eden Private Membership Association,
and me, holistic birthkeeper and photographer Brooke Collier of Sister Birth. Together, we are co-founders and facilitators of Hearth Mother Journey, where we are raising up the next generation of holy wild birthkeepers.
To choose a holy wild birth journey is to consecrate all of your decisions unto the Lord and reclaim creation unadulterated by centuries of human attempts to control and improve upon what God has called good.
Please remember that birth is not a medical event, but a natural process, and we are not your care providers, so this should not be taken as medical advice. Hey, Holy Wild Birth listeners, Brooke here, and I just wanted to record this little intro to what you're about to hear. This is another genre of podcast episode for Holy Wild Birth. We call it a Community Hearth Call, and here's what happened, and it's unlike anything we've ever done before. We hosted a live coaching event for birth workers in our private community on Mighty Networks, and we invited a couple of women on camera to share with us their process, their journey, their questions, their dilemmas around their calling into birth work. And then we did some like live hot seat coaching, essentially. So Lauren and I, with 3 different women on this call, you'll hear us talk with Trandi and then with Elizabeth, and then we'll respond to a typed question that came from another person, Jakota, who was on the call as well. So this is just an edited version of that live event, but it was full of so many great nuggets that we think would be really applicable to our Holy Wild Birth listeners that we decided to turn it into a podcast episode, and we will be doing this again. And just a reminder, the conversations you are about to hear have a lot to do with the pursuit of birth work. And if you are one of the people in our audience who also feels called to birth work, I just want to nudge you and encourage you to check out the Hearth Mother Journey as part of your calling into birth work and getting trained and equipped and formed for that calling. So we're so glad you're here, and I hope you really enjoy this conversation. Let's dive in. Hey, there you are. Hi. Hello. Thanks for being willing to talk with us.
Yeah. Whenever. Let's start with the question.
Okay. Do you want to read it, Laura?
So she wrote, with so many philosophies and ideas about what is best for birth as a new doula who is still learning and researching, I'm not settled on whether to promote a hands-off approach. And if so, I'm not sure how to gain clients who want guidance and education. With so much information about diet and labor positions, how do I remain quiet when evidence shows to do this or that? And if I suggest this or that and it, quote, doesn't work, end quote, how do I justify being paid for information that didn't work? Such a solid question.
Oh, good, because so I felt like it was kind of...
No, I think it's a pretty common, like, how do I know when to suggest things and what to suggest and when is it right and when is it not? And, how do we get all of these tools and then also don't use any of the tools so that she has an undisturbed labor? I think that feels really confusing at first when you step into this. And I think that's a part of what Brooke and I definitely try to help people find that balance, of yes, gain competency, understand birth, learn birth. But the more that you learn, honestly, I say it all the time, the more you learn, the more you're going to realize you know nothing at all, do all of the things, and will humble us in all sorts of ways. And that's just the way of birth. So I don't know that there's ever any time that something works or doesn't work. It's like birth is something we can't control. But in the midst of that, I think it's very vital to show up. If you're showing up in someone's birth room, to understand the physiology of birth, to understand what normal is and how to trust that it should unfold without you meddling with it. And then to be able to see, once you see normal, you can see when maybe there is some time to use those positions or to, help in a situation. But that comes with a lot of first doing nothing, I think, and just supporting her in the ways that she knows. But yeah, Brooke, how would you answer that question?
I find I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, first. I think that's the best way to go.
Because it was like, I think I have the general idea, but I guess I wanted to first ask you, like, what position or role are you playing right now, Trandi, if at all, or if you're just thinking ahead here?
So I'm a childbirth educator, but I'm just now getting my feet wet. I just was volunteering, kind of got pulled into, I didn't even know I was doing the doula work, but I was just there for somebody who wanted me to be there. And then It was like, whoa, what's happening? This is great. Now I'm doing the childbirth educator part, and I'm trying to build a digital presence, and I have a couple of PDFs that I want to just like promote and put out there. I haven't really done anything on social media. I don't have a website or whatever, so I'm still absorbing a lot of information, and I'm probably at that point where it just seems like so much information that I have 2 binders and a little, it's just trying to organize everything and then insert what to say when and all of that. And so I'm pretty sure that has something to do with my question. That's why I submitted 2 questions, because I was like, okay, am I trying to say this or am I trying to say that, But it's more like where I'm in that childbirth education piece, which I think that Father put that on my heart to start with first, because I am really big on trying to say, you know what, this is going to be you, especially because like right now I'm a toddler teacher. That's my day job. And the parent, the mom, she's had 3 kids. One was a scheduled induction with an epidural. One was completely natural. She hired a midwife and a doula, but they never even showed up. They just said, oh, you have plenty of time. She ends up getting in the car and has the baby on the way to the hospital. And then the other one, she gets to the hospital, the baby's cord was around his neck, so she consented to an emergency C-section because she didn't want to have to stay upside down with her bottom in the air, leaned over to try to keep him, from getting hurt. And I love all of that because I'm so proud of her. So whenever I talk to her or anybody else, I'm so proud of you. And a lot of times somebody is so disappointed because something didn't go well, or they wish they would have had this, or they wish they would have had that. And I just have this deep, I'm so proud of you. You did the best you could at that moment, Yes. But I don't know how I'm supposed to turn that into a business. That seems strange to me, to be like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be like, if you need me, I'm right here, but I'm going to try not to be. So if you want to pay me $900, great. That's strange. That's where I really, because I am very forthcoming about information, and I'm like, yes, let's just give all of this information away, and I'm like, maybe I should just write a book. I'm like, no, there's lots of books. And I'm like, no, there's something about my presence. I know that. I know God told me that, but yeah. So yeah, there you go.
That's so good. Thanks for fleshing that out a little. If I'm hearing you correctly, you were setting out to do childbirth ed and just geeking out about birth, and then you're kind of organically getting sucked into this more doula type space and attending births. And it sounds like in some ways your brain and your practice are trying to scramble to keep up with this calling that's accelerating without you necessarily have asked it to accelerate, right? You're like, here we go, we're going. And so now you're like, does it feel almost like the cart is in front of the horse a little bit? Like the thing is in motion before I was maybe fully prepared for it to be in motion. Like these people found you and asked you to come to their births without you having set out to do that. And it seems like you might be in this phase of gathering information. And then I think it's almost like a matter also while you're gathering information data, it's needing to balance that with the internal work of getting still and quiet and listening to your own body and your own mind and your own spirit, how it reacts to what you're bringing in, and start to do that filtering work and asking the Holy Spirit to highlight this. This is going to be what's the word I'm looking for? A pillar for you. And this is going to be a thing that's not going to be such a thing for you. And that can be a slow, frustratingly slow work. But I really do feel like the Father highlights and brings out different elements of what it means to be a birth worker for each person, because no two birth workers are alike, and he knows you and how he made you. And so certain things are going to jump out at you as important and foundational to you that might not jump out to somebody else. And that's good and right. And then when you step out in that fullness of integrity of who you uniquely are and what you uniquely carry as your message into birth spaces, there's going to be people who want that from you. And there's going to be people who don't, but that's good. It's good to filter process of some people want exactly what you're offering and $900 for it. They won't bat an eye at that because they're like, that is exactly what I was looking for. And others would be like, what are you talking about? Why would I pay $900 for that? And that's okay. It's better than okay. That means you're going to get the best people that you're meant to serve.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yep. You're
What's
right.
going on here, but
I love whenever you can hear somebody else put words to things that have kind of been bubbling underneath, that you think that you hear,
mm-hmm.
and you hear, you're like, hell yeah. Yeah. All right, good.
Any other follow-up thoughts that you want us to comment on or dig into with you?
No, that feels clarifying, and yes, thank you for the reminder, the prompt and the challenge to remember to internalize and ask Father what he's specifically having for me, so that I'm
mm-hmm.
confident in that. And I already, just with life in general or the things with what I like to talk about in childbirth education. I know a lot about induction. I read a lot about it. I know the problems with it. I could sit here and talk to you probably for 2 hours, so that's just something
that's
unique.
unique.
Just allow to happen. Take
mm-hmm.
hold of the things that are interest to you and filter out the rest
mm-hmm.
and be confident in that and just wait and not feel rushed. Because I think that I've been feeling rushed, because of my personal life, I think, a lot of that personal anxiety to have a real income and stop waiting around,
Yeah, I do know.
I think that is something that I've pressured myself with, so I just need to continue to let go of that and deal with all of that, as I go. But thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being honest about that pressure point too. The pressure to get it somewhere where it's earning income. I think a lot of women will probably relate to that too. So I'm glad you just brought that to the table. That's real. And so doing it as a slow road off.
Yeah.
Be the same as you are in 5 years. And that's appropriate. But taking that slow road can sometimes increase the financial worry because you're like, when am I going to get to the this gets me some income that's meaningful to my family if I'm taking this slow road, which is just this invitation to so much trust and surrender to that your Father knows, and he would not ask you to walk a slow winding road with him without having manna for you along the way, and for your family. And that it puts you almost even as you're working towards becoming a birth attendant, you're already in this place of dependence on Yahweh the whole way. Like even before you're like in the birth room sometimes. All of that, like one of my old spiritual fathers used to say, it's all grist for the mill. Like everything goes in, God uses it all. Uses all of it as your training, including anxiety about money and trusting him with it.
Yeah. I found it interesting that, you were talking about just all the things you've been studying and the knowledge, and like you could talk about induction and why it's not great, and why we, and then about this particular aspect of stepping into birth work. And I just was like, don't induce the process. Like, it's okay to just release and let it flow out that way.
Yeah.
So
I just told my little Sunday school room, my kids, I was telling my kids, or was I really telling them anything? Maybe Father was just talking. I just remember the Samaritan woman at the well, and I was trying to teach him what a metaphor is and how Jesus loves metaphors and all this. And he just lay up that one.
Yeah, he did.
And vocal about what he was saying. Okay, Papa, I hear you.
Wonderful.
I talk a I think it comes up so much because when you start getting into birth, you start seeing the metaphors everywhere around birth. And I find getting into birth work sometimes feels like such prodromal labor. It feels like such I want to, you run towards it and then it's like, wait, we're not doing anything yet. Oh, we're running towards it and I got a birth and now I'm not going to have a few births for a couple months. And I have, and it's just this start and stop. And I can't tell you how many times I went through that and how many times I've talked to, new and young birth workers in that process. And it's so important not to induce it. It's so important to just let the time unfold and allow him to bring you to the women he wants you to serve, and allow all of the information and knowledge that because you can. I think your other question talked a little bit about the information overload, and it's okay to just take in what you need and let that simmer, and then trust that he's going to bring it up when you need it, that you don't have to know everything all at one time, but it's good to let that process unfold naturally.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much.
And that's one reason the Hearth Mother journey is a year long, right? Because the perspective we're talking about here is a different one than the mainstream, which is like, you will go to this 3-day training, you will read these 5 books on the reading list and write little reports on them. You'll have 5 people sign off that you attended their births, and then congrats, you've arrived. Like, and I'm just like, no, it's such deeper work, which you are clearly understanding. You can't, like, all the integration work and that wrestling and that sorting out, like, who am I as a birth worker, and was God calling me uniquely to do and be, and like, you can't do that in a 3-day weekend workshop and reading 5 hours.
Right.
So anyway, cheers to the slow road.
Yeah.
Good.
You're doing great. Right. I'm excited for you.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Absolutely. So where does that land for you now? Is there anything else that brings up for you, or is that settling?
There's, I guess, settling. I'm actually really tickled now.
I love that.
Yeah. It feels, because that's kind of how, I don't know. That's how I don't know how Papa really is with other people. You only hear, and talking about him in third person always still feels silly, but I'm talking to you, but I'm in praise of him. I feel like right now he's just kissing on me and hugging on me just like I would to my little one whenever I see them and I give them something and they're like, they get it. And then I go, you have a little tickle, and it's just wonderful. So it's real good.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thanks for being brave enough to externalize your internal process with us. Really appreciate you. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Are you a Jesus-loving woman who feels called to serve birthing mothers, but feels overwhelmed by the secular New Age ideologies in the birth world? You sense the holy tug to be a birth keeper, doula, or traditional midwife, but it feels impossible to find training that honors both your faith and autonomous birth.
Allow us to introduce you to Hearth Mother Journey. This isn't just another birthworker training. It's a transformative journey that will ground your birth ministry in biblical wisdom, equip you with a Christ-centered methodology of traditional undisturbed birth practices, transform you into the wise guide God is calling you to be, expand the depth and breadth of your understanding of physiological pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
Join the rising of the modern Hearth Mother, centered on God's holy hearth, serving as his handmaiden, carrying the sacred fire of wisdom and truth.
We're on a mission to raise up the next generation of holy wild birth keepers. Will you be one of them? Click the link in the show notes to take the next step into your calling.
Birthworker will read your question out too, and then we'll let you expand on it if you want to.
Okay.
So Elizabeth said, I'm wanting to work through being able to connect with midwives in my area, even though we don't align philosophically. I want to show love and not be harsh against them, but I do struggle at times to feel safe talking with them because I'm afraid I will get in trouble with the state for promoting traditional midwifery. I am not trained nor promote that I'm trained in any medical way, and I don't call myself a midwife by any means, but the looks I get and the words spoken to me make me feel uneasy at times. I just want to serve women the way the Lord has called me to serve them. Oh, that's just so relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. So just so you know, you're not alone in that. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that wasn't already pre-written?
I mean, that pretty much says it all. I did write that right after the day after I met with another midwife in town, and I was like, okay, that didn't go so well. It's like, she just has such a fear-based philosophy, and it's something that I've had to work out in my, already work through for myself. And I was like, it's just hard to hear people talk like that sometimes. And I'm like, I can't connect with you. This is not going well.
First, let me ask you, what is your current title or role yourself?
Yeah, well, so I have attended a few births just as a doula, but I do prefer the birth keeper title, but I've only done hospital births so far because that's the people that come to me, and I just want any experience I can get. And so I'm like, sure. But I do find hospital births really hard to attend. It's very difficult for me. The Lord has brought a couple people to come to me, and I felt led to support them. So yeah. So I'm working. I feel like the birth keeper title is something that I would more apt to fit into where I am philosophically anyways.
Yeah. Is that what you're...
Okay.
So are you wanting to continue to work in the hospitals for the time being, or you're looking to go into serving women under midwives and home birth, or with that don't have a midwife, or what's your goal to go?
Right. Yeah. So I'm looking to serve women at home, and I want to serve women if they have a midwife or not.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, that's why I'm trying to reach out to a lot of the home birth midwives, is because I want them to know, I'm out there and I might see them. But it's hard because I don't know if I were to attend a birth with a home birth midwife in such a, I want to make sure that we don't bring tension into the birth room. And so that's one of my worries is I want the Lord to lead me to the right people, and I know he will, but I think it's just hard. I'm just finding myself in a really hard place of the people who can help me find women don't really align with where I'm at necessarily. And so I'm trying to put myself out there, but then, I think it's just a trusting the Lord thing, which I've been working on these past few weeks, especially. Because this is new to me again. I started studying in 2016, but I didn't start attending births until 2020, and I've only gone to a few, so I don't have a ton of experience, but I have a lot of book knowledge. So, yeah.
So now you're looking to get more of that hands-on knowledge, but it almost feels like, where am I welcome to go get that hands-on experience. If the people around me think the path I want to take is an inappropriate path, like why would they help me get that experience if they think I'm wrong for doing what I want to do? Yeah. And I think that is definitely a struggle that those who don't want to become licensed in the work that they do will experience, is how do you find somebody to train you up who won't hold that against you and will see it as a valid choice. And I don't unfortunately have like a quick, easy answer to that. I think it just takes a lot of creativity of seeking out ways of learning with your hands that might not be straightforward. Sign up to be an apprentice under a preceptor who's in the NARM path, you know? So like I've seen people travel to work with traditional midwives in other countries or just around, or in the US, like find a traditional midwife in the US who will take you. I might be getting ahead of us here, though. This wasn't exactly your question, was how to get trained, but how to just be in community with a set of birth attendants in your area who don't see birth the same way you do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I am interested in continuing my education. I could study birth probably for my entire life. Yeah.
So you do want to keep learning, like, book knowledge, too.
Yeah, and skills and whatever I need, like whatever the Lord leads, really. I'm really on just listening to him right now, especially in this season that I find myself in these past little while. Yeah.
So can I ask a clarifying question? When you said that you want to work with these midwives in the area, are you wanting to work with them as like an apprentice? Are you wanting to work with them as a doula serving the mom, as a separate, like just working in the same birth room as them, or like actually connecting with them in a way of like in relationship of like I'm joining teams in some way as a doula or apprentice or birth midwifery assistant, or like what is that?
Or is it just being like familiar with the other birth workers and on good terms with them, like in a kind of general sense?
Yeah. So I am just working to kind of just get my name out there a little bit, and then also I was trying to see if there could be even a licensed midwife who kind of lined up more philosophically with me, so that could be like a friend. Mm-hmm. And so far I haven't really found one, and that's okay. Sure. But we don't really have any, as far as I am aware, there's no unlicensed midwives around. What I was told just recently was that they're really working on getting them not to be a thing anymore.
Where are you at? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
You're in Michigan. Okay. So am I, if you didn't already know that. Yeah, we talked about that. I momentarily forgot. So I know your state. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So I don't know if that answered your question, Lauren. Did you have any other piece of that?
So I guess I'm still like, you said you just want to put your name out there, but like to doing what? Like to doing doula work, or are you hoping to be a midwife?
So currently I'm looking just to maybe work as a doula, and then I would say birth keeper. I kind of switch between the terms back and forth a bit. But I'm willing to attend both, like, assisted and unassisted births. So I'm kind of just open as long as I feel like the Lord's led me there. I just think my hard spot is just feeling, I don't know. There's like, maybe I'm just something like, as I was journaling about it, because I was trying to work it out before getting on, so I'd have, like, if you guys called on me, I'd have more to say about it. But it might just be something that I need to like sit with the Lord with. I don't know. It's just like I have like an uncomfortable something that I don't know what it is. And it's just like that. Mm-hmm. But I do want to keep studying. And as much like, okay, so when I was 16, I felt called to be a midwife. And I started studying under a midwife here. And that was before licensing was a thing. And I was so young that I kind of freaked myself out and got like out of it. And I was like, I don't know what this is. What am I doing? Then I started studying to be a doula soon after that. So I don't know. I'm trying to bring that back around. So like, when I got back into the birth world after a couple years of kind of being out of it, I didn't realize that things had, like Michigan had gotten a license thing. And so when I started, I was just like kind of left off, or started where I left off. And I got all these like looks and notices and like people like talking to me about like, you can't do that. And I was like, what are you talking about?
So what were you trying to do that you were getting called out?
It was just reaching out to get, I was looking for a preceptor actually to become a traditional wife. And I
Gotcha.
that was not a thing. And so I was like, oh, that changed in the last few years. Like I had just been out of the birth world for like 3 years. And within those 3 years, like a lot had changed. And I didn't like go looking. I just kind of jumped back where I had been.
Sure.
That's kind of like where this all kind of started. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? So, yeah.
Yeah. This phrase is coming up for me. I think it's from the Bible, but I don't know the address. Do not despise the day of small things.
Yeah.
And that just dropped into my mind as I was listening to. Like some of these questions you have are like these big picture, like long road questions, and they're good, fair questions that do need to be answered. I'm not trying to say they're not, but I think this is your day of small things maybe too, you know? Like you're like, I've attended a few births. I have a birth keeper heart. Like that's your stance, your posture towards the women you serve. You want to be a kind, like cheerleader and like team player in the birth community at large. And you have a lot of information in your head and your hands don't know a lot yet. And that's it's a small time. It's small things, and to not despise it or try to make it already something bigger down the road, but just to follow one bit at a time. Like God's brought you this woman. Listen, do I tend to her or not, and in what way? God brings you this woman. Do I tend to her or not, and in this way? I'm watching this midwife over here. She seems like maybe she could be a kindred spirit. Maybe I could ask her out for coffee. Is that okay? Like, don't despise the day of these small things that are laying this foundation for the future birth keeper, traditional midwife that you're going to be. And like, as somebody else who practices in Michigan, I have spent a lot of time stuck in my head, and probably anyone in a licensed state, stuck in my head about like, how is this ever going to work? And like trying to figure that out as if I can. And the only path I've been able to find through it personally is to just do the right next thing. Like, I notice I need more experience on this. How can I get that? I notice that there's a need in my community for this. How could I meet that? I have a burning message in my heart about this. How could I communicate that to the people who need to hear it? And just like, don't get ahead of myself. Just keep walking and trusting him every step of the way. So that's what came up for me as I was listening to you, and all the wheels turning in your head, and like, don't despise the day of small things. Kind of like we said too, it all matters. It's all part of forming you. And you don't know what this small step you take today by having coffee with that midwife or sending out that email might lay some foundation or open some door down the road that is going to be what you need. So just being faithful in those little things. So I know that wasn't a very practical response. Maybe Lauren has something more practical to say.
But yeah, I think that's right. Most interesting me is that you are voicing choppy. Can
I'm still kind of choppy. I'm not sure why.
probably because I'm in a hotel.
Maybe. Now you're good, though. Now you're good. So
Am I
you're
good?
saying you found the verse in Zechariah, or what you think?
Yeah,
I think that's
I
right.
said, yeah, it is. That's the verse. I just grabbed the first translation, but I have heard it, Zechariah 4:10, as don't despise the day of small things. This was just the first one that popped up on Bible Hub. So, but there is a translation that says it that way as well. So I dropped the full one in the chat. The next lines are, "For the Lord rejoices to see the work begin."
I love that.
We just encourage you in the same manner. The other thing that comes up for me is that you're pinpointing that there's some uneasiness. You said it in the question. You said that it was coming up in your journaling. And I don't know if you want to go into that uneasiness, but if you do, like, was there any themes coming up in that journal, or do you feel like you have any kind of language around why you're feeling uneasy and what that is?
Yeah, I think I know in my heart that I struggle in general when it comes to regulations and rules and people trying to tell me what to do. It comes from a past of trauma that I've worked through, and so like I know little things. So like when a piece comes up that like someone's trying to control me, I'm like, it's like it first like goes kind of crazy, and then I kind of have to level it out. I'm like, whoa, girl, like okay, we've already worked through this. We worked through it again. So
Feel you deeply.
what'd you say?
Rebellion here.
We have a bit of a rebellious like. No, tell me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. He's faithful at working that out.
So I definitely feel like that's got to have a piece of it, but I'm very familiar with the process of working through that. So I am definitely trying to work through that. I think being able to. I think one thing that was hard is I haven't felt like I have a community that I can really trust with what I believe the Lord's calling me to. And so it's so hard to like talk about it and be like, okay, so this is what I'm struggling with and this is what I want to do. But there's not someone that I can just like bounce it off from. So it's kind of like just me in my head. And so most times when I'm struggling with something along the lines of like control or something like that, like I'll have someone to talk to about it. And in this instance, it's kind of like I haven't had anyone to like help me process.
Yeah, it can be a lonely road, which is why even though online community is not ideal, I think a lot of our students find a lot of solace in one another, you know, because there's the people that you can talk to without your filters on. But I will also say the Lord has been faithful to show me, this is probably a misuse of the scripture, but I have many people in that city. Like, I thought when I was surveying the land of the birth workers in my area that I was like the only one. And then he's slowly shown me there's like 4 people who know him and love him and hold their license reluctantly or with like, you know, like not, they don't think I'm wrong for not having, right? And I can speak to them like they're true friends. And though we've chosen different paths, the Lord has led us in slightly different ways. I can cheerlead them for being obedient how he's led them, and they can cheerlead me for being obedient the way that he's led me. And that's enough. So I think you just keep asking the Lord to show you who those people are around you. And you may be surprised. And it may take time. It took a long time for me.
Yeah. I will say, you know, I'm in a licensed state as well. I work under a PMA. So I've set up like a church auxiliary and serve just the private. But I have great relationships with the licensed midwives here, especially one in particular. And a lot of them will send their, you know, as I know that you're not a practicing midwife, they, if that's your goal, you know, like I've gotten into a relationship where they even send clients to me and I can send clients to them, and there's community. And so even though we don't have all the same views on all the same things, we have honor for one another. And I think, you know, even in your question, you were like, I want to have honor for these places. And so I think you're right on the right track. It doesn't have to be an us versus them mentality. And when we go in to just be like, hey, I just want to get to know you, I just want to build my community, you know, go in with honey, you know, we can build that community and just see the value that everyone brings to the table.
That's good. How is that all landing with you, Elizabeth? How are you?
I think it's really good encouragement and just reminders, like similar things that I feel like the Lord's told me anyways. Definitely good. I think I'm just super grateful to be able to actually like talk and like speak it out. I don't feel like I've had a lot of people that are like understand, and so just being able to even just talk in this moment is like helpful. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah. Is there anything else for you that you'd want to talk out?
I think that's the big one for now. I think the Lord's definitely working on a lot of things in me, which I appreciate, but also it's hard. So, I'm in a new season. So like, I just left my job a couple weeks ago and different things are going on. So I definitely have like that pressure thing going on that, I understand that, but I also know the Lord has me in a certain like path. And so I'm trying not to rush it. And so I'm really working hard to just let the timing be in the Lord.
Yeah. The one other thing I just wanted to say to you is you mentioned the rebellious thing that, the Lord has had to deal with you about, and it's coming back around again. Like, I also do believe that with so many of the things that we have to repent of, their redeemed form can also be like one of the most powerful assets that God uses in our lives. And I think that rebellious posture is definitely one of those. So don't, like, yes, repent of the rebellion in the way that's like inappropriate or against God and his spirit, of course. And ask him how he might want to redeem that rebellion to take you to places where other people won't go. Because people are not afraid to stand up and be the different one and be the one who takes a different road. Not everyone will do that. And I think that is partly the redeemed rebellion. So I just wanted to speak that up for you too.
I mean, it is the Exodus midwives, right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yes. Shifra and Pua are foremothers who were rebellious for sure.
Yeah, I know it's got some good in it, stubbornness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you also for being willing to externalize your internal process with us and let us look into your life and your journey. Like, that's an honor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great answer.
Yeah.
So that one that I just started reading out was from Jakota. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly or not. Is it safe to be a birth keeper? Could you get sued or go to jail? And how do you encourage clients to take ownership? Let me see if I can answer that as concisely as possible. I mean, but yes, because also we could say, is it safe to be a midwife who's licensed? Could you get sued or go to jail if you're a midwife who's licensed? And the answer would still be yes, no, maybe.
Yes,
so
no, maybe.
The risk is there, licensed or not, whatever title you're holding in birth work. And that's because midwifery for much of human history has been under attack by powers that be who don't think it should exist. And it's taken different shapes and different eras of time, the persecution of it, but it's present always. So there is always be some degree of needing to look that fear in the face and say, and yet, Lord, if you're asking me to do it, I'll do it anyway. I don't think that goes away. That's part of the calling. That's part of what makes it a calling that's not for everyone, probably. But you're right, it does help. The second part of your question was, how do you encourage clients to take ownership of their own birth and taking responsibility? And that is kind of protective in a way too. Like, I feel like the more we can help women understand that that's theirs and help them switch out of this mindset that's like, I'm outsourcing my responsibility, I'm putting my life in your hands, and if you screw it up, you're going down. Like, obviously that's protective, right? If they understand this is mine, I am making these choices out of my own freedom with full consent, full understanding of what I'm walking into. Nobody but me is going to take the blame for what happens as I walk out this path. Then that's a person who's going to be less likely to try to prosecute you. It doesn't mean the state wouldn't prosecute you. They're less likely. Yeah. Those are some.
I think my initial thought on it is always like, again, yes, no, maybe. But this birth work is kingdom work. And the reason that it doesn't matter if you're licensed or unlicensed, that this threat is there. Like, I think that's why midwives have sought out licensing and this idea that it might protect us, because this has been a part of the calling. It's been a threat. Again, we can go right back to Exodus, where you see a threat to life and birth. And I believe that it is there because birth is how God chose to fight his battles. In Genesis, when you go back to the fall, that is when we see God respond to the fall by saying, through the seed of a woman, I will bring forth, and he will crush the head of the serpent, and he will strike his heel, but he will strike the head of the serpent. And obviously we know that's Jesus, but it was through birth. He could have sent Jesus anyway to this earth, right? Like, he could have just been like, okay, you're here, just like I put Adam here. He chose the slow road, the long road. He chose generations after generations after generations, birth after birth after birth, to bring forth Jesus Christ, the Messiah, as a babe first through the seed of a woman. And the enemy was put on notice that it was through birth that God would fight his battles. And he at that point, there was enmity between women and the enemy. And this is why there is such tension. And so it's not a physical battle. It is a spiritual battle. And when you begin to do birth work as a spiritual calling, to say, God has called me here, then you can begin to trust that if you do get thrown into a furnace, that he will be with you. And that if you go with him where you only go where he leads you, then he's going to protect you. He's going to cover you because that is who he is. He does not call you to something he's not going to equip you to do. And that may or may not mean persecution is on your path. I don't know. None of us know what tomorrow holds. But what I do know that is you are doing it for the Lord, that he will guide you and he will cover you. He will be with you in the furnace, or he will prevent you from being thrown into a furnace altogether. I know I have had friends. I do not mince words about it. I have had friends that have gone to jail for this. And I have had many a times where I thought, oh, here's my turn. And God just covered it. And there was no, what's the word I'm looking for? Like there was nothing came of what I thought might come of a certain situation. And so, that's why I say yes, no, maybe we don't know any more than I know whether I'm going to wake up breathing in the morning. I'm sure I will, but go where he leads you, because what I do know is that if you don't go where he leads you to, you're going to be the one picking up the tab. Just like when Jonah got on the boat going the wrong way, he told him to go and preach, and Jonah had to get on the boat, and he out of fear, he decided to go the opposite direction. If you look at a map, he literally said, nope, not going there, I'm going over here, the exact opposite direction. And he is the one who had to pay for that boat ticket. And then he is the one who ended up in the belly of the whale. And if he had just gone the first time, I think he would have made his road a lot easier. So I think the better question is not, is it safe? Not, will I get sued? Not, will I go to jail? But is God calling me to go here? And then trust that he's going to equip you if you're called.
Amen. So good. I hope that helps, Jakota.
I'm sorry, I got preachy. I got my preachy.
He says, it's so good. It's been hard overcoming fear and putting all responsibility for birth outcomes on my shoulders. Yeah. Well, it's not on your shoulders, sister. Like, it's not. So, like, it's on his, and then it's on the mothers and fathers of the babies. So, try to release yourself of that false sense of responsibility to whatever extent you can. I know that's hard.
It is. It's hard.
You are responsible. You still have to be a responsible person, right? Like, you have to operate in integrity. You have to be equipped. You have to, you have to be responsible, but that's different than being responsible for outcomes.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. And, we're not the keepers of life and death. We are guardians of life, or we are witnesses of life. We are there to hold space as life enters, depending on what role that we might be taking in that space. All of us, I believe, are guardians of life when we think about it from an intercession role, like we are praying again, and we are standing in that spiritual battle I mentioned. No matter what role you walk into that place as an intercessor, but that's our responsibility, is to be an intercessor, not to determine an outcome, not to sit on the throne of God, but to relinquish that false sense of control and trust that he's sovereign in the birthing room, and trust that he is with that mom and that baby, and that he is bringing forth a story, and a story of transformation, no matter what that outcome looks like. He is with them.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Holy Wild Birth. We hope that you were genuinely encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. If you're loving what you hear, please make sure that you share it. Leave reviews. That helps other mamas find this content as well. And don't forget to read the show notes, okay? Because that's where you can find our email address if you want to reach out to us and start a conversation. It's also where you'll find free offerings as well as invitations to work with me and or Lauren. We can't wait to get to know you. See you next week.